We learned this week that humanity's frankly erratic stint at running its own affairs may be drawing to a merciful close. We learned that the future of governance may sound like this.
Më lejoni t'ju kujtoj, rreziku I vërtet për kushtetutat nuk kanë qenë kurrë makinat, por vendimet njerëzore të njerëzve me pushtet.
Which is, we learned, Diela, an entirely AI-generated apparition to whose handsome traditional Albanian costume we cannot entirely do justice in this audio medium, who has been awarded a role in Albania's cabinet, allegedly to make impartial and incorruptible decisions on procurement for public works and so on. We learned, applying our admittedly rudimentary Albanian, that what she said there was...
The real danger to constitutions has never been machines, but human decisions made by those in power.
Which, if we're honest, does sound a bit like what a megalomaniac computer program would say shortly before harvesting our blood for coolant, but we learned nevertheless that it could be worse, and indeed is.
I like to teach the world to sing with me.
For we learned of the latest steps in the ceaseless quest of US President Donald Trump to heal his divided nation.
He did not hate his opponents. He wanted the best for them. That's where I disagreed with Charlie. I hate my opponent. And I don't want the best for them. I'm sorry. I am sorry, Erica.
And its rancorous politics.
You know, Biden was always a mean guy, but never a smart guy. You know, even you go back 30 years ago, 40 years ago, he was a stupid guy, but he was always a mean son of a bitch, you know?
And a roiling world.
I'm really good at this stuff. Your countries are going to hell.
And but we learned that despite the derisive sniggering emanating from some cynical quarters...
That was stupid. God, what an idiot.
Like that one, of President Trump's further placating of the dogs of war, silencing of the cries of havoc, etc. After learning last week of Trump's heroic labours to end the long, bitter and non-existent war between now apparently AI-governed Albania and, probably, Azerbaijan?
Azerbaijan and Albania, as an example. It was going on for years. It was never going to be settled.
We this week learned of another potentially destructive conflict nipped decisively in the bud by the Clemens von Metternich of our time.
Cambodia and Armenia, it was just starting and it was a bad one.
Yes. We learned that there would be no war between Cambodia and Armenia, though they must have been pretty angry with each other about something, given that their capital cities are... We'll need a spinning globe sound effect. About 6,800 kilometres apart, give or take, which, if we're quibbling, and to be clear, we are quibbling, elevates this particular diplomatic triumph to about the level of forestalling conflict between, say, Bhutan and... Come on, give it another spin. Malta. Big hello to all our listeners in Malta.
Hello!
But we learned, because it's not like he is ever shy about reminding us, of how very tough life is for St. Donald the Peacebringer, who even as you listen to this monologue may well be tirelessly and diligently wrangling a cessation of hostilities between Fredonia and Legoland. For a start... As Trump explained to his fellow national leaders at the UN General Assembly during the course of a typically sane, focused, constructive, coherent, self-effacing, and above all completely normal speech, he gets none of the respect he abundantly deserves.
Which is a very big thing for which our country received no credit, never receives credit. Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements.
Well, not quite everyone.
That was stupid. God, what an idiot.
We learned, however, that it gets even worse than that. We learned that the escalators at the UN building don't work.
All I got from the United Nations was an escalator that on the way up stopped right in the middle.
We still have that chorus we made back when obscure UK Minister Will Quince resigned, right? That one we sometimes wheel out and get the producer to leadenly intone whatever the thing is over every mention of Will Quince. We're going to need that with the UN's escalators over every Will Quince.
No,
The UN's escalators. The UN's escalators.
this changes everything.
The UN's escalators.
What are we going to do? Surely not.
We learned, however, and as always, that the president's advisors could be relied upon to help him keep things in proportion.
And if we find that these were UN staffers who were purposefully trying to literally trip up the president and the first lady of the United States, well, there better be accountability for those people, and I will personally see to it.
And that the same could be said of the president's media outriders on Fox News, ready as always to stoutly resist any temptation to report inane pettifogging trivia like it's Pearl Harbor or something.
What we need to do is either leave the UN or we need to bomb it.
We can, of course, be absolutely sure that Jesse Watters, for it was he, would be totally cool with it if a Liberal broadcaster breezily discussed their Timothy McVeigh fantasies during a news programme. We learned, however, and this will be extremely difficult to believe, but stick with us, that American conservative media had incredibly, this is all completely beyond the realm of expectation, just have never imagined, let alone heard of, anything like this happening before, run hog wild on a lurid conspiracy narrative without waiting until the facts were in. Yes, we're as shocked as you are, and so on.
The Associated Press reports that the UN understands that someone from the president's party who ran ahead of him inadvertently triggered the stop mechanism on the escalator.
We learned therefrom, however, of a possible explanation for the president's apparent distraction while up there on the literal and metaphorical world stage. He just had to walk further than he ever had in his life. For Monocle Radio, I'm Andrew Mueller.